Welcome back to Thom Hartmann Program. I'm Mike Papantonio in for Thom. I've been talking about Thom's book today. Let's hear about it from Thom himself. Thom, great book, The Crash of 2016. Had to be fun to write because it just nails the issues. What's your take on it?
Hey, Pat. Thank you. Yeah, this book has been, it's like a year and a half in the writing, but the core message is it's not an accident. These guys, I think the vice president's flying over. These guys set out to take down the middle class. They set out really to take down the country. And, back in the 70s, they laid out the plan because they were looking at the 60s going, wow, back in the 50s, Russell Kirk, when he wrote The Conservative Mind and predicted all this, hippies and women's lib and everything, he was right. And things are going wrong, and we got to take this country back and turn it back into something like Dickens' England, and they're accomplishing. And so I lay out the book, how they did it, and how we can stop it.
Well, the important thing about the book is what it does is it gives the mechanics of how this happened, and I think it gives the mechanics of what we can do about it. Look, as I read this, I don't think there's anything equivocal about the idea that you believe the crash is imminent. It will take place because of the way all the tea leaves are lining up here. So what do we do? What is it we as individuals ought to be thinking about?
Well, I think there's two things we need to understand. The first is really, in a very real way, the crash. We're sort of in the middle of the crash. It started in 2008, or 2007, really, when the housing bubble burst, much like the big crash of the 30s started in 1927 with the housing bubble bursting down in Florida. And for the last 6 years or so, they've just been, putting bubble gum in the holes in the dam, just trying to keep it from breaking. And when it breaks, it's going to break big. So what we need to do is just keep in mind, I guess the foundation of all the things to keep in mind is that when the big crash happened 80 years ago, last generation around, a little more than 80 years ago, the president of Germany was Hitler, chancellor, and the president of the United States was FDR. We had built a progressive infrastructure. It was largely built in the 1890s, 1900s, 1910s, and it was there and in place and ready to go. Whereas in Germany, they had built a very, very conservative, very authoritarian infrastructure, and it was there and ready to go. And all either one needed was a crisis to tip it into action. And that crisis in the 20s brought all these progressive reforms of the New Deal, and the crisis of that time in Germany brought, the Nazis. And we just have to do everything we can to build that progressive infrastructure, to wake people up, to get people ready, and realize that this isn't just an economic crisis. This, in fact, it's only secondarily an economic crisis. It was caused for economic purposes, but it's a political crisis.
Aren't we running against the wind, Thom? Aren't we running against the wind if people don't even understand it, if they don't understand what has happened, if they don't understand that Milton Friedman lied to them, if they don't understand Ronald Reagan lied to them about this notion, if you share with billionaires, the billionaires are going to share with you? Isn't that a lie that is so complete that it's almost difficult, if not impossible at times, to overcome?
It is right now, and it was in 1928 too. In 1928, there were people who were yelling, "Look out, it's coming," because they had seen the housing bubble crash in 27, or they just could see how unsubstantial the whole thing was. And they were laughed at, ignored, and you couldn't even have a conversation about these issues in 28. But now, now it is it's here. Excuse me. Let me start. I'm sorry. I just got distracted here with a phone call. But now, because not yet now, but in 29 when the crash happened, and really in 30 and 31. I mean, it took people a couple of years to digest this stuff. They were still supporting Herbert Hoover up until maybe 1930, 31, and it took a couple of years, and a couple of years into it, everybody figured it out. And I think that it's going to take, frankly, a really big crash to cause people to go, "Oh, now I get it."
Thom, as I read what you're writing here, First of all, it's a powerful book. Good luck with your, you're going to be out signing these. Hopefully, you're going to distribute this as widely as possible because it's kind of a must-read kind of thing. But I think back of FDR referring to the folks that, ran the country clubs, the royalist. He called them the economic royalist of his time. If we compare where we are even when he identified the danger of all that money being held by that small group of economic royalists, it's worse today. I mean, the numbers are, if you just look at pure numbers, look at the empirical data, it's worse today than it was even when FDR said that capitalism will fail because all of the economic royalists hold all the money and nothing is moving from the bottom. It's all should move from the top, but it's being held by the economic royalists.
Yeah, and that's why, in large part, it's going to, it's inevitable. People say, well, we can tinker around the edges, or maybe the Fed will save us, or whatever. And the main message of this book is that the pie is already cooked. It just hasn't come out of the oven yet, or pick your bad metaphor. And there's so much structural damage that's been done. Undoing, most of it started in the Reagan administration, some of it in the Clinton administration, and some of it, every administration since. Bad trade policies, bad international policies, bad monetary policies, bad tax policies, and these are all things that can be fairly easily fixed. I mean, FDR took us from 25% unemployment down to 15% unemployment, 24 to 15%, 9% jump in just 4 years.
Yeah.
I mean, just 4 years.
Isn't part of the frustration, if you were to turn on your television, right? I know you don't actually follow corporate media, but if you were to turn on and look through corporate media to try to find anybody who's even talking about the important elements that's laid out in the crash of 2016, A, they don't understand it, B, they're unwilling to talk about it because it's contrary to their best interest. Am I right or wrong about that?
No, you nailed it. And that will change when the crash is absolutely impossible to deny.
Thom Hartmann, one of America's great thinkers, The Crash of 2016. Go buy the book. Don't do yourself a disservice by not owning it. I'm Mike Papantonio in for Thom. I'll be right back.